Welcome everyone. Great to be with you once again. Always a pleasure. And this weekend more so, I thought I'll do something a little bit special because today is the feast of Our Lady of Fatima. We are also in the season of Easter and it's the month of May, and I'm right here in the presence of our statue, our Blessed Mother. So we honor her today. She has done great things for us. She has been the perfect disciple, following the will of God and disposing herself completely to God's will. This weekend, we celebrate the Feast of the Ascension, and our readings are taken from several sources. First of all, the book of Acts, which recalls Jesus' ascension into heaven, surrounded by his three innermost disciples. And it speaks of his leaving them behind and their normal human reaction, which is one of feeling neglected, feeling lost, and feeling alone. But Jesus promised to send them an advocate, someone who would be their guide, and someone who would be there to counsel them and comfort them whenever they need help. The second reading, taken from Ephesians, assures us that all things under heaven and earth are under God's power, that we have nothing to fear, that all dominions, all things, whether spiritual or non-spiritual, are in God's hands, and that history is in God's hands, that things are leading up to a certain culmination. So don't fear, trust in the Lord. Even though things might seem at times very dim, God is in charge. And of course, we have our gospel reading that mirrors the first reading, that gives us a sense of purpose and direction in our lives. Jesus, in leaving his disciples, in ascending to his Father in heaven, left them with a mission. So, my dear friends, we celebrate God's presence with us as Jesus tells his disciples to go out and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all that I commanded you. And then it says right there at the end, behold, I am with you always until the end of the age. So a message of comfort, a message of hope, but a message that carries the spirit of mission in it as well. The Ascension this weekend is celebrated kind of in a two-part movement. It's like music. Jesus ascends to heaven and the church goes forth to spread the good news. So there's a vertical and there's a horizontal dimension to the ascension. One goes up and the other goes out. The church is entrusted with a specific task to be a witness. What is a witness? Well, a witness is someone who testifies, someone who has experienced something and they relate what they have experienced to another. For instance, you see an accident happen on the road, you are a witness and you are called to give an account of what you have seen. Your testimony is important because you were there on spot. And this is why, for instance, the writers of the New Testament are so important to us. They were there on spot. They were with Jesus. They witnessed what took place. They give us a first-hand account. And this is why we are told we hold them in such high regard in the church, because they got the story firsthand. Many of our Catholic traditions, for instance, the structure of the Mass, the way our church is organized, some of our prayers date from this period. Even some of our sacramental practices as well. Baptism, communion, the Holy Spirit, confession, they all come from this early period in the church. The church can trace its history back to this period. And let me give you an example of what I am talking about. People often ask, why do we baptize infants? Why does the Catholic Church baptize infants? Why don't we wait until someone can commit their life to Jesus before we baptize them? An infant cannot make a commitment because the church is following what took place in the Bible. The church is biblically based. It was the practice in the early church to baptize entire families. Entire families. The father, the mother, the children, the servants who were there in the household, everyone was baptized together. Look at Acts chapter 16, verse 33. It's the story of a man and his entire household being baptized, man, woman, and child. Baptism was never the special preserve of adults alone. So this witness and this connection with the past is very important in terms of understanding our Catholic identity. But in a more fundamental way, we are called to give witness to the love and power of God in our lives. This is what it is really about. All the prayers, all the baptisms, the celebrations are testimony to our identity as children of God and His enduring love in our lives. And we do this in the midst of competing voices. There are always voices out there competing for our attention. So we have to be focused on our task, the task that was given to us to bear witness and testimony to the power and love of God in our own lives. This is what we are called to share basically with others. So the question is then, what is the quality of our witness? What is the quality of your witness? What are you giving out? What's the message that comes from your life? Is it something that is good, or is the picture kind of fuzzy and very ambiguous as well? Are there contradictions in your life that you preach one thing and you do another? So this is what the Ascension calls us to. Not only Catholics who talk the talk, but Catholics who walk the walk as well. So my dear friends, we are challenged to get rid of these contradictions in our lives, to make God more present in our lives by our actions, our words, and by who we are. We cannot be vai and going in two directions at the same time. We remember that famous quotation from Saint Therese of Avila. Christ has no body but yours. He has no hands. He has no feet. He has no body on earth but yours. Yours are his eyes. Yours are his feet. And yours are his hands. So it is an indictment on us to truly represent the goodness and the power and love of God in all that we say and do. So my dear friends, remember the vertical and the horizontal this weekend. Christ ascended to his Father, but Christ gave us this mission. We are emboldened by the Holy Spirit to preach the good news and to witness to the love of God in our lives. God bless you all. Happy Ascension Feast Day.